Hello, we're going to talk about systems of equations, aka simultaneous equations. So, a system of equations is when you have two or more equations that use the same variables. Okay, use the same variables. And a solution to a system of equations is going to be the point written in coordinate form that makes all of the equations in the system true. So that means when you substitute your solution in, it should make both of the equations true statements. So let's look at the first method, the graphing method. The first step is to graph each equation by using slope-intercept, gradient-intercept form, or finding the intercepts. That's up to you how you graph the line. The second one is the second step is that you're going to identify the solution is where the lines touch or where they cross and intersect. So let's look at example one. All right. So example one, we have to graph the system. So let's look at the top equation. So that's y is equal to 3 over 2x plus 7. So we know that the y-intercept is 7. So I'm going to go up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my y-intercept is here. And then my slope is telling me to go up 3, right 2. That is a positive slope. So your point should be increasing from left to right. Notice I said from left to right. All right. All right. So graph that line. All right. The next one, it says that x is equal to negative 2. Notice you do not see a y value there. So that means we don't care what y is. As long as the x is negative 2, we're fine. So negative 2 on the x-axis is here. And then we are going to draw a vertical line because x has to always be negative 2. And that's where it's going to be at on that vertical line. So now my solution is here. So that point is located at negative 2, 4. And I can check it by substituting. So it says, the first equation says y is equal to 3 over 2x plus 7. Well, y is 4, so that's saying that 4 is equal to 3 over 2 times negative 2 plus 7. So if I put that in the calculator, 3 over 2 times negative 2 plus 7. And as you can see, I get 4. So 4 is equal to 4. And then I know x is equal to negative 2. Be negative 2 is equal to negative 2. So it'll make both of those true. All right. Let's look at example 2. So example number 2. We have our top equation, which is in gradient intercept form. So it's easy for us to see the slope and the y-intercept. So we go to 6 on the y-axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And our slope is a negative 1, which means we go down 1 over 1. Remember, you plot as many points as possible because you want to be neat. And if you don't have a ruler, that's fine. Just use anything that's like a straight edge. All right, so that's that line. So the next one, you want to find your intercepts. So let's say if you want to find your x-intercepts or your y-intercepts. So what I would do is I would have my x-intercept. That means I want to substitute 0 for y. So that means I'm going to have 4 times 0 minus 2x is equal to 36. Because remember, any point that's on the x-axis, your y value has to be 0. So that's going to give me negative 2x is equal to 36, which means that x will be equal to a negative 18. And there's no room on the x-axis the way we've scaled it. We scale by ones. There's no room to graph negative 18 there. So we will have to convert this to slope-intercept form. So the first step that we would need to do to convert it would be we will need to add 2x to both sides. So that would be 4y is equal to positive 2x plus 36. And then we will divide everything by 4. So that would be y is equal to 1/2 x plus 9. So now we know we can graph it. The y-intercept is 9, which is here. And then my slope is 1/2. So that's going up 1 over 2. And sometimes, and let me make sure this line is actually going through the middle of those points correctly. I just need to shift that over a little bit. All right. And then once again, plot as many points as you can. You want to make sure that your line goes through very, very neatly, because if not, you will think that you won't have a solution. Or you will think that the solution is like a decimal. And it can be, but you want to be as accurate as possible. All right. So as we can see, the solution is here. I'm going to write it in green. So my solution here is in green. So that is -2, 8. That is that solution there. All right. So now let's talk about the substitution method. Okay, with the substitution method, the name and what you do is all in the name. So it says substitution. So that means to replace something, take something out and replace it with something else. So you're going to solve one equation for either x or y. It does not matter. Once you do that, you are going to then substitute. Okay, you're going to substitute, okay, this expression into the other equation, and you're going to solve for the other variable. So let's look at example 3. I want to solve either one of these equations for x or y. It does not matter whether you start with the top equation or start with the bottom. It does not matter. If I look at the top equation, it says 2x is equal to 8y plus 14. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to convert this, and I'm going to divide everything by 2. If I do that, I will get x is equal to 4y plus 7, because I divided everything by 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute 4y plus 7. I'm going to substitute that in for x in the other equation. So that's going to become 4x, or excuse me, 4y plus 7. I'm putting that in place of x, minus 3y is equal to 6. So I end up getting 4y minus 3y is y plus 7 is equal to 6. Subtract 7 on both sides, so that y is equal to a -1. All right. So now I take y is equal to -1, and I'm going to substitute that into the x equals equation because it's already solved for x. So that's going to make me have x equals 4 times y, and y is now -1 plus 7. So that means x is equal to -4 plus 7, which is 3. So our solution in coordinate form will be 3, -1. And remember, you substitute in to make sure it works for both equations. So the top equation says 2 times x, 2 times 3 is 6. And then if I go on the other side, we have 8 times y, which is -1. So that's -8 plus 14, which is 6. 6 is equal to 6. And then for the bottom equation, we will have 3 minus 3 minus 3 times -1. 3 times -1 is -3, and 3 subtract -3 is going to be 3 plus 3, which is 6, and 6 equals 6. So it does work. All right. The other method is the elimination method. When you're using the elimination method, you want to make sure that your equations are lined up. They need to be set up the same way. Variables need to be on the same sides. constants need to be on the same size, or like variables and constants. So once you make sure everything is lined up, you're going to add or you're going to subtract to eliminate the variable with a common coefficient. Remember, coefficient is the number in front of your variable. All right. Now, before you add or subtract, you may have to multiply if your coefficients are different. So, like if the coefficients of your x's are different, you may have to multiply. If your coefficient of your y's are different and you're trying to eliminate those, you may have to multiply. Sometimes you only have to multiply one equation. Sometimes you have to multiply both. Okay, it just depends. Okay, and once you add or subtract to eliminate the variables, one of the variables, you're going to solve for the next variable or the remaining one. Once you do that, you are going to substitute your answer in to the original equation, and then you're going to solve for the last remaining variable. So let's look at example 4. So as you can see, these equations are not set up the same. You can make the top equation look like the bottom or the bottom look like the top. It does not matter. Okay? So I'm going to make the bottom equation look like the top. So the 4x and the 6x, they're both on the left side of the equal sign, so that's fine. I have an 8y on the left side on the top, but my y term is on the right in the bottom equation, so I need to move that. And then my 12 is on the right, that's my constant, and the other constant in the bottom equation is 24, so those are both on the right hand side. So it looks like I only need to move the negative 12. So that's going to be 4x plus 8y is equal to 12. And then we're going to have 6x plus 12y is equal to 24. Now everything is lined up. My x's are lined up. My y's are lined up. My constants are lined up. All right. So now I'm trying to add or subtract. But the problem is, if let's say if I look at the x's, I can't add or subtract to get rid of that. If I subtract those, I'll get negative 2. If I add them, I'll get 10. I can't add or subtract to cancel these. If I subtract them, I will end up getting a negative 4. If I add them, I will get a 20. So I want to get 0. That's what it means to cancel. So I need to multiply my equations. So I'm just going to eliminate x. So 4 and 6 can both be multiplied and turned into 12. So I multiply the top equation by 3 and the bottom one by 2. So that will end up giving me 12x plus 24y is equal to 36. And the bottom equation will end up being 12x plus 24y is equal to 48. And here I will have to subtract to cancel my x's. So I will end up getting 12x minus 12x, that cancels. 24y minus 24y also cancels. So that means that the entire left side is 0. So there's going to be 0 is equal to negative 12. Okay? This is one of the special cases. So jot down a quick note of the type of solutions. One solution. That means you have an answer that's like x is equal to 5. All right? No solution is when you have one number equal to a completely different number. So like we have here, 0 equals negative 12. Infinitely many solutions or infinite solutions is when you have a number equal to itself. So that's like 4 is equal to 4, or 0 is equal to 0, or x is equal to x. That is infinitely many solutions. So this one is no solution. All right. Now let's look at a word problem. So a word problem. It says the perimeter of and first of all, let's go over the steps first. So the first step in the word problem is you want to define your variables. Tell what the variables mean. Pick your letters, tell what they mean. Number 2, write the system of equations using the scenario or the words. So basically turn your words into letters and numbers. 3, you want to solve the system by graphing, substitution, or elimination, whichever one is friendly and which one ever is quicker. It does not matter. Or whichever one you're comfortable with. And then 4, you want to answer the question exactly. So give them the answer that they want. So make sure you always end with that. So example 5, it says the perimeter of a rectangular wooden deck is 90 feet. The deck's length, L, is 5 feet less than 4 times its width, W. What is the width of the deck? So the first thing we need to do, define your variables. So they told us that we're using L for length and W for width. They said length is L. They say width is W. Okay? So that's what I'm going to write here. All right. So now that we have that, we can write our equations. That's the next step. So once we do that, and I'm going to make sure this matching the color code. So that's step 1. That's in blue. Step 2, we got to write the equations. So it says here, the perimeter. We should know what perimeter is. So it says the perimeter, that's the key word. It says the perimeter is 90 feet. I'm boxing that for a reason. So, okay. So if I write that, perimeter means you need to add all the sides. A rectangle has 2 lengths and 2 widths. So that means if I have my 2 lengths plus my 2 widths, it should equal 90. All right. The next equation that we have is the deck's length is 5 feet less than 4 times its width. So the deck's length is or equals, so that's telling me L equals 5 feet less than, so that means I'm subtracting 5 from something, 4 times its width. So that means 4W. Okay? So that is my equation. All right, or my system. So now if I look at these 2 equations here, substitution is the more friendlier method. So I'm going to solve by substitution. So I am going to substitute in 4W minus 5 and for L. So this is going to give me 2 times 4W minus 5 plus 2W is equal to 90. All right. So when we do that, all we have to do is distribute. So that's going to be 8W minus 10 plus 2W is equal to 90. Okay. We end up getting 6W minus 10 is equal to 90, or 10W. So 10W minus 10 is equal to 90. And then we are going to add 10 to both sides. So 10W is equal to 100, which means that W is equal to 10. All right. So if W equals 10, we can then, if we wanted to, we can solve for the length as well. You don't necessarily have to. But if you wanted to solve the whole system, you could. And L is equal to 4 times 10 minus 5. So that means L will be equal to 35. So it says If we want to just check our work, we could see it says the perimeter was supposed to be 90 feet, right? So 35 plus 35 plus 10 plus 10. As you can see, it's 90. And it says the length is 5 feet less than 4 times the width. So 4 times the width, 4 times 10 is 40 minus 5. That's 35, which will end up giving us our length. All right. Now let's look at our calculator steps, okay? Because you can use the calculator to do all of this for you. All you have to do is set it up. So the first thing you want to do is put all of your equations into the form ax plus by is equal to c, where a, b, and c are going to be your constants. They're going to be numbers. A and b are going to be your coefficients. C are going to be your constants. That's if you have two variables. So once you do that, you're going to press the apps button. You're then going to go to number 2, polynomial 2, or whatever option it is. And then you're going to press any key. Next, we're going to select the simultaneous equation solver, because that we're solving a system of equations, simultaneous equations. That's number 2. Once we do that, we're going to choose how many equations we have and how many unknowns or variables that we have. Once you do that, you're going to press graph for the next button, and then you're going to put in your system of equations. Okay. Once you put that in, if your screen looks like this, all you have to do is fill in the numbers, change the plus signs to minuses if needed, and then literally just fill everything like normal. Okay. If you have a newer calculator. If you have an older calculator like mine, the numbers are representing each column represents a variable. So this column represents my x variable. This column represents my y variable. This column represents my constant or my numbers. So I don't have to put the x and the y's there. I'm just putting in the coefficients because it understands that each column represents a certain variable or a constant. Once you do that, you will press the graph button to solve it, to go to the solve menu, and it will give you the solution. So let's do an example here. Here's my system. So I go to apps, polynomial 2, simultaneous equation solver. Here I have two equations, and I have two different variables, x and y. So just two equations, two unknowns. I press next, and then I enter my coefficients. So it really doesn't matter which column you put your coefficients in, as long as it's the same for both equations. So if I put the 3 here, I know that down here I have to put the 5 because those are both x's. If I put -9 here, I have to put the 4 here. Okay. If I put the -6 here, then I will have to put -10 here. All right. So when I do that, all I would have to do is just press graph to go to solve, and it will tell me that my solution is -2, 0. And if I substitute that in, it will work. 3 times -2 is -6. 6 minus 0 is -6. That works. That'd be 5 times -2, which is -10, plus 4 times 0, that's equal to -10. That works. So I know that that is correct. All right. So next, let's look at number 7. These are not in the right form, so I have to get everything on one side. So this 3/4 x, it has to go to the other side, which is going to make it a -3/4 x. So there's -3/4 x plus y is equal to -7. For the bottom equation, that -2x needs to go to the other side. That's going to become a positive 2x plus y is equal to 15. So now that I have that, I can go back and press the zoom button to go to system. If you look, there's this word system in the middle of the screen. Press the zoom button to access that, and you can change your system. So I'll put -3 divided by 4. It'll just turn it into a decimal for you. I put a 1 for the coefficient of y, and then a negative 7 for my constant for the first equation. Then I have 2, 1, 15 as my constants for the bottom equation. Once I do that, I solve. And as you can see, I get 8, negative 1. All right. If I wanted to, if I press y equals, I can put both of these equations in there. So I can put y equals 3 over 4x minus 7. And then I can do y is equal to negative 2x. And this only work, you can only put stuff in y equals that's solved for y. If it's not solved for y, you can't do it. So then I do that. And then if I want to, I can graph. And then I'm going to, if I look at the buttons at the bottom of the calculator, I want to find the intersection to calculate the intersection that's written in blue. You should see that you should see a calc above trace, the calc in blue. That means you want to press the calc button. So in order to press the calc button, or the calc means you got to press the blue button first. So that's the second button, trace, and you want to calculate the intersection number 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get as close as possible to the intersection. So I scroll over, get as close as possible, press enter 3 times, and I see the intersection is 8, negative 1. Okay, so that's how you can check it, or you can check it by plugging in. All right, last one, word problem. It says, you bought meat for Saturday's cookout. A package of hot dogs cost $1.75, and a package of hamburgers cost $6. You buy a total of 7 packages of meat and spend $25. How many packages of hamburger meat did you buy? So we are going to say that X packs of hot dogs, Y is the packs of hamburgers, right? So it says here in the problem that you bought 7 packages of meat. So that means that X plus Y is equal to 7. The other part of the word problem says that a package of hot dogs costs $1.75 and a package of hamburger costs $6 and you spent $25. So that's $1.75 per hot dog pack plus $6 per hamburger pack, and that should be equal to $25 total. So now all I have to do is go to apps, PolySimul 2, simultaneous equation solver, 2 equations, 2 unknowns, and I can put 117, and then I can put 1.75, 6, and 25. So when I do that, all I have to do is press the solve button, and I end up getting 4 and 3. So they're saying X is equal to 4 and Y is equal to 3. So we got 4 packs of hot dogs, 3 packs of hamburgers. All right. And that is your answer. So if you have any questions on system of equations, please reach out to your teacher and have a great day.